One of the obvious uses of this relationship that the marginal product divided by the price should be equalized across all inputs is to ask what happens when the price of an input increases. Obviously, for the particular input in question, if the price of the input increases, then the ratio of marginal product divided by the price will decrease because the price is increased. So now, how will you go back to equilibrium? Well, one way out is to obviously use less of the input whose price has gone up. If you use less, then the marginal product will increase. So then the marginal product by the price ratio will again go up, as it should. Also, if you use less of this particular input, you will probably substitute it by using more of some other input. For that particular input, the marginal product will decrease, so consequently the marginal product divided by the price will also decrease. So that is the way you will go back to the equilibrium such that the marginal product by price across all inputs would be equalized. This might sound a little complicated, but all that we are saying is when the price of an input increases, you use less of that and you use more of the other input. If labor costs go up, then you use less labor and you substitute labor by capital. We should be a little careful when we make such comments though, because it's not as if all inputs are substitutes. Inputs can be complements as well, just like in the case of demand and products. So just like cameras and film could be complements, similarly when it comes to inputs, different kinds of labor and different kinds of machinery can very well be complementary. As an example, think about cranes and workers. Now, typically what happens is if you are operating cranes to lift very heavy pieces of machinery or material, then you need a worker, an operator to operate the crane. If the cost of workers or labor becomes more expensive, you really cannot say that I am going to do away with the worker and I will use the crane just by itself, or I will in fact buy more cranes and use less workers. In this case, as in a lot of cases, crane and worker are complementary. So consequently, this idea that when the price of an input increases, you obviously substitute away to use something else, well, that has its limitations. A similar situation arises in the case of different types of workers. Most businesses use a combination of experienced and inexperienced workers. Typically, people further up the hierarchy are more experienced and they typically handle a group of workers below them who are relatively less experienced. So again, if the price or the cost of inexperienced workers go up, you cannot simply say I am just going to substitute inexperienced workers with more experienced workers and the other way around. So yes, at some level almost all inputs are substitutable, but at the level of the factory or at the level of the business, the amount of substitutability differs and we should keep that in mind.